Is the Scrum Master at fault when the Scrum team fails? The quick answer is no. Everyone's at fault when the Scrum team fails. But I understand there's a lot of confusion around this topic, which I will try to clear out in this video. And for this, we need to go back to the Scrum Guide. From the first Scrum Guide in 2010, the Scrum Master is responsible for ensuring that Scrum values, practices, and rules are enacted and enforced. In the 2017 version, the Scrum Master is responsible for promoting and supporting Scrum as defined in the Scrum Guide. Scrum Masters do this by helping everyone understand Scrum theory, practice, rules, and values. It first started with a Scrum Master being responsible to ensure that Scrum is a success for the team. Then in 2017, the Scrum Master was here to promote and support the implementation of a Scrum framework, no longer responsible. I believe it was a nice change. Promoting Scrum, supporting the Scrum team, that's exactly what the Scrum Master should be doing. Being responsible to ensure, to enforce Scrum and ensure that it's being done. Debatable, because the person responsible usually does the thing. Responsible of a specific task, you're actually involved in doing this task. And it's not only the Scrum Master being involved. Everyone is involved in the team. So it can't be only the Scrum Master who is responsible. So it was a nice change. But in the latest version of the Scrum Guide, the 2020 version, the Scrum Master is accountable for establishing Scrum as defined in the Scrum Guide. They do this by helping everyone understand Scrum theory and practice, both within the Scrum team and the organization. The Scrum Master is accountable for the Scrum team's effectiveness. They do this by enabling the Scrum team to improve its practices within the Scrum framework. That's the biggest change to the role of the Scrum Master since the 2010 version of the Scrum Guide. The role itself, Scrum Master, no longer exists. There's no such thing as roles now in Scrum Guide. There's a developer accountability, product owner accountability, Scrum Master accountability, and the Scrum Master's accountabilities replace the word responsible. The Scrum Master is no longer responsible or here to promote and support the Scrum framework. No, is accountable of two things, ensuring that Scrum is implemented as per the latest version of a Scrum Guide and that the team is effective. Accountable instead of responsible. That's a huge change. Someone who is accountable is the owner of a specific thing. This person needs to answer questions with regard to the results of this thing. Accountable of doing something and also accountable of a result and should be able to answer questions. Think responsible as being task-oriented. People actually involved in doing the task, completing the task, but there's an owner for this activity, completing the task, and this owner is the accountable person. This person should be able to answer questions like, why did we succeed? Why did we fail? What did we do? The owner of a task, which involved a lot of people being responsible actually doing the work. And I believe that's where all the confusion started. The Scrum Master responsible of two things, ensuring that Scrum is being used correctly and the effectiveness of the team. So if a team is not effective, or they are not using Scrum correctly, or if Scrum agility is failing for this team, there's a person at fault. The person who is accountable for the outcome, the Scrum Master. I'm not saying here that it's right or wrong. No, I'm just saying here that it's a common belief in many organizations. But the person at fault is a person who is accountable. And the person who is accountable here for effectiveness and ensuring that Scrum is implemented correctly is the Scrum Master. Now, let's go back to our original question. When the team fails, who is responsible? Well, the Scrum Master is often the scapegoat when the team fails. But as per the Scrum Guide 2020, the entire team is accountable for creating a valuable, useful increment every sprint. What does failure mean to you? When your organization, managers, stakeholders are saying that the Scrum team is failing, what do they mean? I've rarely seen a Scrum team creating value, useful increments every single sprint. Getting feedback from customers, pushing it to the market, improving every single sprint on the increment. A Scrum team doing that, and people considering that the Scrum team is failing. So for me, if you're creating valuable increments every single sprint, you are succeeding, and everyone is accountable for that. If you're unable to do that, everyone is accountable, not just the Scrum Master. But still, what about the effectiveness of the team or the correct use of the Scrum framework? Should the Scrum Master be responsible, the only scapegoat when the team is failing to do these two things? What do you think? It's fair? Some people believe That is unfair. Let me give you a clear example. Let's say Anna is a Scrum Master supporting a single team. Anna notices that the team is unable to complete what they said they would do in the sprint. They often miss the sprint goal. I would say 90% of the time, they don't achieve the sprint goal or what they committed to do during the sprint. Anna has a brilliant idea. Why not do a sprint retrospective? The team was always reluctant to do the sprint retrospective, but Anna was able to convince them. In the sprint retrospective, Anna is presenting all the ideas, but no one is saying anything. No one wants to improve. They don't want to make the process more effective. They don't see any issues in not meeting their sprint commitments. They're not even doing daily scrums. And they don't see why they should be improving. Simply because they have so many things to do currently. They are overloaded, so many priorities. Everything is a priority. They don't have time to improve. So the team could be more effective and is not currently effective. The team could be using the Scrum framework correctly and is not currently using the Scrum framework. Who's at fault? The team? The entire team? Or only the Scrum Master? The Scrum Guide would tell you that only a single person is accountable, not the entire Scrum team. The Scrum Master is accountable. And remember, the definition of accountable, the owner should be able to answer questions about the result, the outcome. Why didn't we achieve effectiveness? Why are we not using the Scrum framework correctly? Anna, the Scrum Master, should be able to answer these questions. Do you think that it's fair? Many people don't think that it's fair. A single person being accountable for these two important things, effectiveness and the correct use of a Scrum framework. Remember, a Scrum team is self-managed. They decide what to build, how to build it, who builds it, and by when to build it. Not a single person, the entire Scrum team. And the Scrum Master is a true leader. Previously, a servant leader, now a true leader, here to support the team, guide the team, mentor, coach, teach the team, not here to tell the team what to do. This person doesn't have authority on the team, and if the team doesn't want to use the Scrum framework correctly or doesn't want to improve effectiveness, the Scrum Master can't just come and say, you need to do that. I have authority on you. No. Doesn't work like that. So the Scrum Master is in a position where if the team doesn't want to do sprint retrospectives, doesn't want to do daily scrums, or improve the daily scrums, they don't really care about effectiveness. The Scrum Master can't tell them or force them to improve or do these things. So basically, the Scrum Guide is giving accountabilities on two things to the Scrum Master, to this person who has absolutely no power in the team. You are accountable for something you can't control, and some people feel that it's not fair. But still, on the flip side of a coin, everyone in the team is accountable for something. Developer is accountable for something. The product owner accountable for something. The Scrum Master is accountable for something. And everyone, the entire team is accountable for creating a useful, valuable increment every single sprint. Can we say that the Scrum team is succeeding when we are not creating this valuable increment every sprint? No. The entire Scrum team is at fault, not just the Scrum Master. If the team is not effective, they have opportunities to be effective, and they are not effective, can we say that the Scrum Master is at fault or the entire Scrum team? The Scrum Guide would tell you the Scrum Master is at fault. But in order to meet their other accountabilities, developer accountabilities, product owner accountabilities, you'll see that you need to be effective or use the Scrum framework correctly. Every accountability is linked together. The developers can't succeed in their accountabilities, or the product owner can't succeed in meeting their accountabilities, or the entire Scrum team can't succeed in meeting their accountabilities if the team is not effective or using the Scrum framework correctly. Everything is linked. And the entire Scrum team can create this valuable, useful increment every single sprint. So even though the Scrum Master is accountable for these two things, the entire Scrum team needs to help the Scrum Master in meeting their accountabilities, else their accountabilities will also be impacted. The developers and the product owner, everything is linked. But do you think that all this is even important? Do you believe that it's important to know who's at fault when there's an issue? No, come on. The entire Scrum team should be working together in a sprint retrospective, talking about how we can make the team more effective, or talking about why they don't want to make the team more effective. They said that they were too busy, overwhelmed with so many things to do. What can we do to review the priorities? We need to use retrospectives or other workshops forum to improve the team. We can't just point fingers and blame people. There's no use in that. The entire team should be responsible. The entire team should be accountable. And the entire team should be working on together to improve the solution. Blaming people doesn't result in anything valuable, because we are a single unit wanting to achieve every single sprint, a sprint goal and also a product goal. An entire team. Which brings me to my next one. If you want more tips, insights on Agile Scrum personal growth, click on the video that stands out the most on the screen right now, and I'll see you in a few seconds.